At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
This is your before and after story. Southeastern College can help you prepare for a secure and fulfilling career in the growing healthcare field. We offer a wide range of careers to choose from. So whether you want to be a medical assistant, medical billing and coding specialist, nurse, surgical technologist, or another healthcare career, we've got you covered. Become a vital part of a healthcare team and make a real difference. Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.
And I think a lot of people want to say it was one thing that fixed it, right? It was one hack, one pill, whatever. I can't. I had to address so many things at the same time and really put in the work, right? I mean, emotional, physical, mental, everything. Biohacking, back to nature. What am I eating? How am I sleeping? I had to address everything at once. It's a lot of work, but when you do it and you feel better, it's worth it.
Welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast, brought to you by AmpCoil. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel, and on this show, we discuss the common thread survivors share after walking through the fire, the practitioners making a difference, and the treatment modalities that deliver healing back into the hands of the people who need it most. Witness the inspiration we gain by navigating the human experience with grace, humility, and a healthy dose of mistakes. Because part of being human is being beautifully broken. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. I'm so excited. I am here with the one and only, the Biohacking Babes. I have a close personal connection to this team of ladies who is creating awesome content around biohacking, upgrading human biology, and working with the environment, but they're a pair of the only women that I know that are making true strides in this field, which is predominantly a male-dominated corner of the ring. So welcome, Lauren and Renee.
Freddie,
hey,
what's up?
Thank you. Love the intro.
I'm so excited you guys are here. Mostly because it's really fun to nerd out with other biohackers and people who are looking at the body as, I often say, a supercomputer. We have all these forms of input, and what does the body do with the information, and then how do we get the body to uptake that new information? Can we jump in, and can you tell me a little bit about how you got started into this obsession with feeling good, looking good, being well, avoiding chronic illness? Go ahead and jump in.
Oh, I love that you led with the obsession to feeling well, because I think that's what this is really about. It's not about the way you look, though that's like a very positive outcome from all of this stuff that we're doing. But Renee and I were sisters, and we just want to feel our best. And that is what brought us into this. We've each struggled in our own ways with different things. But actually, we got into this because of our family and our dad, who we call like the original biohacker. He's a biological dentist, but he's been doing this biohacking stuff forever. And Renee remembers a lot of great stories which she can tell from our childhood. But we were exposed to this stuff before we even knew what it was. And I just feel so lucky and so grateful that I had an introduction to this at such a young age, because I think there's so many people grow up in families that are not nurturing in that way, that they have no idea what health is. So we grow up and become adults, and we look out to the world, to social media, to like public opinion, to find out what healthy is. Like once we start having pain, or once we start having symptoms, or like feeling shitty or not feeling good about our bodies. And I just think we're both so lucky that we kind of had that innate education from a very young part of our lives.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about young. Can you tell me your first memory of a biohacking experience, or something where you guys brought in some technology to the home to upgrade your biology in relation to your parents?
I remember getting like a PEMF mat, like soon out of college, which is not as a child, but that's the first time I was like given something and I didn't even really fully understand it. And now PMFs is like blowing out of proportion. Like everyone's doing it and talking about it. Renee actually has an amazing story of like us being much younger.
Well, I mean, this isn't really technology, but I remember we came home from ballet class one night and Dad had his head on the kitchen table with an ear candle. Mom is like burning a flame on top of this. And we're like, what in the world did we just walk into? I mean, that's, obviously not technology, but that was when we knew, okay, Dad's into some weird stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
And then the next thing was the vibration plate, which, similar to PEMF, vibration plates are like in every gym now. But I remember being in, gosh, I don't know, maybe like 5th grade. And my friends and I would go down in the basement and we would stand on the vibration plate because we thought it was fun. We're like, this is a cool toy. I don't know what it does, but.
Now, for people who don't know in the audience, can you give me the health benefits or can you explain a vibration plate?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things that it does is it helps with the lymphatic system. So, the lymphatic system is very important for immune health, but unfortunately, with most people being sedentary, there's nothing that's pumping the lymphatic system, right? Like we have our heart for the cardiovascular system, that's our pump. But the lymphatic system, unless you're exercising regularly, doing skin brushing, jump roping, things like that, you're not moving it. So the vibration plate is a great way for someone that's maybe not physically fit enough to exercise or they're elderly. You just stand or sit on the plate and it literally shakes your body, right? It vibrates down to the cellular level and it cleans out that lymphatic system.
Yeah, also great for someone that's injured, but also just to spark some joy like you experience with your friends, Renee. Like it probably made you giggle and that inherently was like health boosting to laugh and like enjoy yourself.
So I have a question about the plate. Is there a brand or a model that you really love or resonate? Because I've started to research vibrations plates over the last 8 months, and there are ones that vibrate side to side, up and down. They oscillate on different planes and different frequencies. Have you ever taken a deep dive on vibration plates?
I haven't, but I love the Juvent, which they have at Hacked Fitness right now.
Uh-huh.
I can't scientifically
power
tell
plate,
you why. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the power plate. I know Dad is now on his 2nd or 3rd vibration plate because he wears them down so much. But I think the power plate, but I can't say why, what research went into why he picked that one.
Yeah, I just joined a fancy gym up here in Connecticut. I'm not going to say which one because it's a little pretentious. However, they have a power plate, and it's someone who has been through Lyme and toxic mold. I feel noticeably better when I get on the vibration plate because stagnation in the lymphatic system is a big thing when you've been kind of in that pattern, long-term chronic illness. One thing that I always hear my Lyme doc say is that people will come in having been through like rounds of antibiotics or treatment, and they say all they needed to do to move this person forward was to clean out their lymph. That they had a lot of dead Lyme, they had a lot of mold sitting in the body. So I guess my follow-up question is, what is it that we need vibration plates in this day and age? Why are people not getting the movement that they would normally need to necessitate the body's cleaning out of this natural system, which doesn't have a pump for a reason? So what's the gap there between nature and where we're at now needing this plate?
Well, that's easy. We're getting away from nature. We're spending more time indoors. We are surrounding ourselves with EMFs, technology, and just moving away from nature. We're getting less grounding, and grounding is the easiest way to get vibration, like connecting with the earth. And how many people put their feet in the grass every morning? I remember my dad doing that from a very young age, walking outside barefoot, and I thought it was crazy. But he was out there like kind of doing his little stomp around. I'm like, what are you doing to the grass? But no, that connection is really powerful, and we're just not getting it. And then just being sedentary, we're not bouncing around. Oh, so another thing that we had in our house was, what's the trampoline called?
Oh, rebounder.
A rebounder, where you get that lymphatic pressure to push the lymph out. Like my dad also was bouncing around on that thing, and we thought it was hilarious. And then he eventually bought one for me, and through a lot of different illnesses, immediately felt better, more
Yeah.
energy, lighter, brighter, all the things.
Yeah, I think it's a great way. It's obviously low impact. And so the rebounder, for people that don't know in the audience, it's basically like a mini trampoline. It's not going to bounce you super high, but it's low impact exercise, and it's a way to move the lymphatic system. And they're very affordable on Amazon. I'm going to say around $100. I'm sure you can pay up to $300, but it's a great thing to bring into your life to just get a little movement depending on your physical ability. Renee, I want to go over to you. So, and this is actually, you'll both get a chance to answer this question. Now, both you and your sister are performers. You came up with a dance background, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, is in all this time of you being very obviously dancers, we're super athletes, connected to our bodies, very aware of spatial recognition and relationships. Now, tell me about some injuries that you might have used biohacking to move through in your performing life.
Yeah. So, I mean, we grew up doing mostly ballet, which is obviously very strenuous on the body. I ended up with a sacroiliac strain when I was 13. And the doctor said, just take a couple months off of dance. You'll be fine. I had a national competition around the corner, so I danced through it. Came out the other side with 2 stress fractures in my sacroiliac joint.
Wow.
So that put me out of commission for a while. Full back brace. The surgeons actually wanted to fuse my spine. Fortunately, my dad, being the biohacker that he was back then, said, absolutely not. We're not going to fuse her spine at 13. That's crazy. So then I went into, acupuncture, massage therapy, PT, chiropractic, everything you could think of. And everything helped a little bit. But the one thing that actually really helped me was PEMF. And we're talking about like the heavy duty, what you would now see at like pulse centers. And, Lauren and I talk about this a lot because I think the heavy duty PEMF, I don't know that is something we should be doing every day as like a preventative thing. Might be a little too strong. But if you have a broken bone or a stress fracture, I'm a huge fan of it. I mean, I did 3 days of intense treatment and it was life-changing.
Wow, that's incredible. I know, for our listeners, there's all these types of pulse electromagnetic fields when we say PEMF, and there's ones that are very, very gentle. And a way to describe the strength of PEMF is Gauss. And Gauss is the density of the magnetic field. So you can have these machines that are as low as like a beamer mat, where it can be like 150 microtesla, up to something like a pulse centers or a PEMF 120 that can move a full Tesla, which is 1 million or a 2 million microtesla. So it's like, I tell people it's like pushing Play-Doh through a hole. Like you don't always need like a lot of force to get it through on a low frequency, but it depends if you're going into this emergency situation, a bone break, you've been in a car accident. I think those devices and that technology can be really, really helpful. So that's something you use. Lauren, now you're still a biohacker and still a Broadway performer, correct?
Yeah, both. They go hand in hand.
Let's talk about Broadway and let's talk about some injuries that you've worked through using biohacking, because I think it's fascinating to relate it back to, where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, well, since we're talking about PEMF, I've been pretty lucky. I haven't had any major injuries. I mean, a few setbacks here and there, but I've been a personal trainer just as long as I've been a professional performer. And so I've had this like side-by-side educational journey where I can sort of like support my body and learn about my body. And I've been able to like rehab my body. So nothing major, but as a biohacker, I've been experimenting a lot with a lot of different things. And I won't say specifically what I used, but it was a type of PEMF. And I'm pretty certain that it put me in an injured state. I know that's like kind of a big claim, but just talking about the difference in power and Gauss here on the PEMF spectrum, I think we really, really have to educate ourselves on what the science is behind it and what it's doing to our body. Like, how is it stimulating us? Like, I think a lot of us don't even really know what it's doing. And you could be injured or you could just be trying to upgrade. And I think there's a wide spectrum between those two. And I used PEMF just to upgrade. And I think it put me in a vulnerable position. And then I went on stage, which is a rake stage at Wicked, and I injured my ankle. So it's hard to say, or it's hard to pinpoint exactly when and why that happened. But I do think there is this, gray area where we really need to question what we're doing. And, I'm really grateful that I had that experience because it led me to other amazing discoveries on healing the body, something like the Newbie, the neurological biostimulator, which if you want, we can get into that. But I just have so many thoughts on like how to treat injuries, how to treat a relatively healthy, stable body. There's such a spectrum there. So we have to really be educators and keep asking the right questions. And, we're here to try stuff. We are the biohackers, or hopefully like being the pioneers and leading, but we have this huge responsibility to take that information and that education and sort of weed through it and then like empower others to do, the safe and right thing.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. As somebody leading the charge, part of the attachment that goes along with that is you put yourself at risk sometimes, I would assume, is trying some of these new technologies and dose, what the dose defines the poison. So can you tell me about, do you have any aside from your ankle, do you have any other biohack fails that you've done, either of you?
Ooh.
I have one.
Yeah,
go ahead, Renee.
I will say Prolon, the fasting mimicking diet. And I talk about this a lot. Like I went into it knowing it was probably going to be a fail for me. But again, I'm not going to recommend something to a patient that I haven't tried. I'm just not open to doing that. So this is, for anyone that's not familiar, Prolon, the fasting mimicking diet. It's a 5-day, essentially like a fast. It literally mimics a fast, but you're eating small amounts of food throughout the day, anywhere from like 500 to 800 calories a day. Not ideal if you don't want to lose weight, which is my scenario. So within 2 days, I had lost too much weight and I had to then alter the protocol. But I got through it. I tried all the food. I know what it tastes like. I know what it feels like. And I would still recommend it to people, not someone like me and with my health issues.
But you learn so much from that. I mean, there's so much opportunity, even in these fails. Like, I welcome them. I'm so glad that I had that experience with PEMF because it led me down this other path of so much more knowledge. And I'm so grateful for it. I mean, it kind of sucked along the way, but I'm so much better for it.
Yeah. So along with the sidebar question that I want to ask is that, so this fasting mimicking diet that you did, which I think the scientist who led that it's Dr. Walter Longo.
Correct.
Yeah. And I've done the prolonged fast a couple times. I've of course, I designed my own with my own foods, I think for a male of my weight, it was like sub 1,000 calories for 5 days, low protein, no sugars, low fat. So we're trying to get our immune system or our body to go into the stage of autophagy and eat our bad microorganisms, bad cells, mold, what have you. And I felt really, really good from an inflammation standpoint. However, my adrenals got a little fried going through. And I would say my recommendation for fasting is fasting, if we're using nature as a guiding principle, it's a time to rest. It's a time to step back. It's not necessarily a time to be at your Broadway show and be doing your HIIT workout and be running a startup. There's a beauty in fasting, and it's really to sit back and just be, and I think that's the one thing. The diet's awesome. It allows you to get a little bit of calorie, get some fasting benefits. But then as far as the guiding principle of nature, and where this is something we just don't do in this country, is give ourselves time to heal, time to be with the low caloric diet. And what do you discover in that mindset? So I'm going to throw this back to you, Renee. Did you give yourself space to experience that low caloric 5-day window and just kind of treat your body? Or were you still trying to push it?
I cut back a little bit that week. I was only working from home. I wasn't running at Orange Theory that week, so I cut back a little bit, maybe get an extra hour or two of sleep every night. Mm-hmm. But I would have loved to like go away to a retreat in the mountains and like disconnect and do it. Maybe I would have been more successful. I don't know, because the weight loss was definitely an issue. But like you said, with the adrenals, with my history of adrenal dysfunction, I have to be so careful with that. So I don't know, it's kind of a mix. But yeah, it's all about that added stress, right? Like fasting is so popular right now, but people are just so stressed. And like they forget that fasting is one more stressor they're adding to the pile.
I had a woman write me this last week, and she was saying, listen, I'm doing everything. I'm on a keto diet. I'm doing sub this calories. I'm doing these workouts and I'm like obese. Like, tell me what I'm doing. And I'm like,
just the way you said that, I could hear like the vibrational intensity. Like, I'm doing everything.
I'm doing everything.
We just want to tell her to take a breath, right?
Right. So can we speak a little bit about, because I talk about fasting a lot and it really does work for me. Energy, brain function, clarity of thoughts, and ability to just like exactly express myself when I'm in a fasted state. I usually don't eat till 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And this like past like 50 days, I've done the 1 meal a day thing. So a much longer fast, I've made it work. That being said, it doesn't always work out great. And maybe this is what I hear. Women have different needs. So can we talk a little bit about women and the effect on a prolonged fast on the body? Because you guys know more than I do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we had a guest recently on our podcast talking about this, because we're certainly not experts, but I know personally that I cannot fast the way that you do, Freddie. Like, I know that we've hung out many times, like late morning, early afternoon, and you're like, I haven't eaten yet today. I'm like, I've had 3 meals. I could never.
Yeah.
There's a lot of science behind that. I would actually, sorry to plug, but direct everyone to our podcast with our guest, Kelsey Hess. She had a lot of great information about this. I will say that like our hormones as women are very delicate, and it's really easy to feel like every day of the month should be the same. And if you're like a go-getter, women feel like we got to keep going at it. But when we're in our cycle, or like when we are menstruating, that is a time to turn in, to do less, to do the recovery or do the working in. And a lot of women like feel really bloated or have PMS or cramps or just like don't feel great. So they're like, I'm going to go to the gym and like work it off, or I'm just going to like medicate and turn off those pain receptors or just like distract. But that is a time for, I think, intention, introspection, and then like some quiet. So it's really important to listen to that cycle and to really, honor your body in those moments, because not every day of the month is going to be the same.
Beautiful. Renee, do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think like Lauren said, just be aware of what's going on. Every day, every week, it's changing with our hormones. There's certain times of the month that we can fast a little bit longer, maybe 14, maybe 16 hours. There's certain weeks or a certain week where we need more carbs, right? Especially the 5 days before we start our cycle. And come on, women, we've all experienced that, right? We want the pasta and the chocolate 5 days before our cycle, and we feel bad about ourselves. Why do I want that? No, because you need carbs for the right hormones to start your cycle. So listen to that. Let yourself have those carbs those 5 days. And then when you start your cycle, you can cut back on the carbs. When you're ovulating, you can increase your fat a little bit. So, and one more thing to point out is the research has not been done on women fasting at a reproductive age. Right. And we talk about this in our podcast episode. All the research is done mostly on men and rodents. Easy to test, right? Who wants to test women that are starting their cycle on a different day? They have different hormones, different emotions. No one wants to deal with that craziness. So there's no research. So that's where the biohacking component comes in. You have to tune into your body, know your cycle, know what you need to be doing every day, every week, every month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So the other thing I want to just touch on here is there's an element of following the internal compass, and then needing to, there's a degree of self-preservation, awareness around doing some of these biohacks. Like if people want to dip their toe in the water, how do you recommend people go about experimenting and at the same time being safe? What are some of the guidelines you'd have somebody follow?
Nature. Just get more nature. There's so many biohacks that are free, like sunshine. grounding, putting your feet in grass, taking a cold shower. I I feel like a broken record. I can't stop talking about cold showers in my life. Just eating higher quality food. These are all free and easy to do. Yeah, there's some expensive, fancy, a little more technical biohacks out there, which, we're experimenting with. And I wouldn't necessarily just push someone to do it. They're available to you, but start with the basics. Everyone needs the basics, and most people are not getting enough of them.
Can we talk about, let's talk about what a cold shower means to you. And can we talk about some of the benefits of changing your body's temperature dramatically in the morning and why that's a thing?
Yeah. So it's a hormetic stressor. And I say stressor in a positive way. Most people think of stress as negative, but we do want a balance of positive and negative stress. But what you get from a small experience with stress is like a rebound effect. And so a hormetic stressor is putting a small stress on your body to then open up the floodgates to all of this positive stuff. And it kind of depends on what exactly you're doing. But with a cold shower, you almost trigger this fight or flight, but then it also rebalances the nervous system to tell your body that you're safe. So this rebound is where you get stronger, you get the recovery. And the benefits of cold showers are kind of endless. It will make you burn more fat. It will help you sleep better. It will wake up your brain. It protects your immune system. I mean, there's so much science out there. I'm not going to drone on because you can easily find it. But a cold shower is so easy to do. And all it takes is 3 minutes of exposure, really.
So what's your morning routine with your cold shower specifically? You just go for a solid 3 minutes, or do you alternate?
Sometimes I alternate, but I'm actually not a morning shower person. That sounds strange. I shower at nighttime. I like a cold shower at night. But then after a workout, or today I did infrared sauna, and I hate sweating. I basically do the infrared sauna because I look forward to the cold shower afterwards. So I get the hot and then the cold. So yeah, there's a lot of benefit of going back and forth between the two. You could do 30 seconds on and off. You could do 3 minutes on and off. It kind of depends what your experience is with it and how you handle the stress. I wouldn't say just torture yourself out of the gate. I generally do 5 minutes total. And just depending on my state of mind that day, I'll just sort of push it just a little bit, because you want to get to that uncomfortable place. That's where the power is, being just a little bit uncomfortable. Because that's everything in life.
Yeah.
When we are uncomfortable, we grow, right?
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. And for those who are listening today, your brain is wired to keep you comfortable. It's hard. The brain does not like change. It likes to feel safe. So that is something that you drop into the heart and you see where do I want to grow? Where am I going to push myself? And there's just like we said, there's an area of the envelope where we're just going to push against it a little bit to get a little bit of response. Renee, what are your thoughts on cold showers, cold therapy? We could talk about even if you don't want to do the cold shower, the other thing that I periodically will do, but I have some definitive thoughts on this as of late, is a cryotherapy chamber where you're going to have nitrogen, or you're going to have hyper-cooled air down to negative 237 degrees for 2 minutes. What are your thoughts?
I believe all the research on the cold therapies, right? It's just not my thing, right? I do all this other biohacking, but I'm not going to lie. I hate it. And Lauren's laughing because she knows how much I hate it. Look, I moved to the Vegas desert because I hate cold. I moved to Florida for college because I hate cold. I've just always hated cold. It's absolute torture for me. I mean, I try to implement a little bit of the cold plunge if I'm at a spa, maybe a cold shower if it's 120 degrees out in Vegas. But that's the extent of my cold. I did a cryotherapy session for 2 minutes. That was record breaking for me. But I think to speak about cryo, I think it's great, but for the expense and hassle of driving to a place that has it, when you can do all the cold stuff practically at home for free. I mean, if you want to make your own ice bath, okay, it's a couple dollars, right? I just don't see the value. And maybe prove me wrong. I just don't see the real.
I agree completely.
I think, I would say ease of use is the only thing. If I had my own cryo chamber, which is $70,000, and I had, did not care about money, would I have one in the house? Maybe.
If I was a professional athlete making millions of dollars a year, that'd be number one in my house for sure.
Yeah, LeBron James definitely has a cryo. Tony Robbins has a cryo chamber. Tony Robbins' mother has a cryo chamber for her chronic pain. So that's a thing. I just don't see, I've had friends, very good friends, add cryo to their business. If you're a health and wellness practitioner out there, I just like to throw this out. You're looking at 70 to 80 grand just for your buy-in, not to mention the liquid nitrogen you're going to use to cool the air or to cool the human. The price point is it's hard to make the money back based on the operating costs and the expenditures of the equipment. So I think it's something that where it used to be like $110 a session. And now it's like, you can get a cryo session for like $35. There's no way you're making your money back on that. It's not, I think from a business standpoint, and I'm always kind of like up, my ears are up and I'm like, is that a good business venture? Cryo, not so much. Like, there's these new home cooled cold tubs, which I think are great for sub $2,000. I would do that. But we have a pool in our backyard where I go break the ice with a stick and I get in that. People think I'm crazy, but
yeah, those pictures are insane. You
oh my God.
On your thigh. Yeah, for me, I wouldn't suggest that purchase. Renee is getting infrared sauna in her basement. So Renee's not a cold person, but she is definitely a heat person, obviously.
Let's talk about the heat.
And like the heat shock proteins as opposed to the cold shock proteins.
Let's talk about those. So Renee, you're buying a sauna. What one are you getting and why?
My husband and I finally decided on the Sunlighten sauna. I mean, there's so many out there. I mean, I definitely wanted to get a full spectrum infrared. So I kind of came down to Clearlight and Sunlighten. They're both, I think, awesome. I also wanted to make sure it was low EMF because that's a problem with a lot of the infrared saunas, right? The EMFs are just off the charts. So then you have to question, is it really worth the benefit if you're just radiating yourself? So yeah, I got that. And this goes back to, again, growing up with an infrared sauna in our house. Dad knew about the benefits back in the, maybe late 90s, early 2000s. And it's one thing that I have always felt amazing when I come out of it. I do a lot of biohacking. Some things I can't connect. Do I feel a difference? Do I feel better? Do I feel worse? Sauna, I always feel better. My brain is sharp. My energy is, off the charts. Yeah. You just can't beat it. And maybe it's a little bit of the mental piece of imagining I'm like sweating out all these toxins, right? We're exposed to this nasty gunk of stuff every day in our environment. And fortunately, I've cleaned up, my diet and personal care products, so I'm not getting exposed there, but just sweating out all those extra toxins, it just feels good.
Yeah, I love that. I love you're getting Sunlighten and Clearlight. Those are my two, my go-tos. There's another portable one that I can't think of the name of right now. That
Sauna
is low.
Space.
I think it's Sauna Space. It's a low EMF. It's the one where it almost looks like you're zipped into like a washer and dryer. Like it zips right up. You're on a little chair.
That's what we had growing up. That's what we used to have in our kitchen.
What is that called? Let me do this. I'm like totally. I'm
yeah,
pulling like a
brands.
Joe Rogan like right now, looking up on my computer.
I don't remember which one we had growing up until we had a wooden one, and I don't remember the brand of that because Sunlight and Clearlight didn't even exist back then. But maybe 8 years ago, I bought one of the zip up ones, and I bought Therasage. I know the owner of Therasage. It's low EMF. He's a Lyme expert. I just really trust his company.
Yeah.
But I sold that one for a couple $100 before I moved out to Vegas. And now I'm going to get a nice big one. So.
Yeah, it's Relax Far infrared saunas, low EMF.
Oh, okay.
They're at all the health fairs. And the guy, he's just like such a charming character. But they have computer programmed ceramic semiconductor chips. They're very safe. They've been tested. It's funny. I remember, and I bought a cheapie off Amazon, my first buy-in for like a home one, but it was in the throes of figuring out I had Lyme and I had massive benefit from a cognitive standpoint. I mean, I would get out of this thing. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm clear-headed in 60 minutes. It wouldn't last, because my body was not doing a good job of the natural, as we said, the lymphatics, whatever, the glymphatic system in the brain, but it was helping. And it was session by session that I felt a benefit and I really felt proof there. So I want to touch, we tapped just for a second our other beauty hacks. So we did cold, we did heat. Obviously the benefits of sauna are extensive. We can get into the research, what wavelengths. You mentioned full light spectrum. Can you talk a little bit about the full light spectrum in the unit that you're getting and why that's a thing?
Yeah, I think, when I first learned about the infrared saunas, everyone was talking about far infrared, right? Far infrared, it goes deeper, it penetrates deeper under the skin, and that's the way to go. But then now more research in the last couple of years is showing that near infrared is just as important.
Yeah.
So the sunlight does offer all the way from near to far infrared. So a lot more benefit with that. I'm not saying far infrared is bad. It's still great, but if you can get both, why not?
Yeah. Can we stick on light for a second? Do you ladies have any other light hacks that you love?
We love our red light.
Yeah, I love the red light. I mean, nothing's going to beat going outside and getting direct, pure sunlight, which I live in New York. Freddie, you're kind of New York, Connecticut. We definitely don't get as much sunlight as Renee does in Vegas. So we have to try a little bit harder. I mean, we have more cloudy days, especially in the winter. So something like a red light, a Juve is really helpful, or like human charger, which shines light directly into the ears, which goes into the brain, is really helpful. But nothing as good as pure sunlight. So the way I combat that is I just don't wear sunglasses. Sunglasses used to be like a really fun, like fashion choice for me. Like, which sunglasses am I going to wear this season? What's going to go with this coat or this outfit? I just don't wear them anymore. It's just not worth it because I don't get enough sunlight as it is, because one, my apartment doesn't have a ton of direct sunlight. Two, I live in New York and it's winter and it's cloudy. Three, I work in a theater. I'm a performer. So I'm in a dark building like a lot of my week. So like one easy thing is just not putting sunglasses on. Every time I'm outside, like sometimes I'm squinting. I probably look crazy, but I'm getting the light.
Let's talk about if you had 150 grand and you could biohack the inside of a Broadway house.
Oh man.
Tell me what you would do, because every time I was ever in a show, I love booking the show. I love being on stage. What I didn't like is spending all day in a dark, damp, moldy theater, because they're all old buildings. Most of them, they're pretty old. They got a lot of problems as far as like health. You're wearing a microphone that's transmitting like some horrible EMFs right into your head. If you're a woman, it's right into your wig.
Principal, your head. Yeah. Luckily, in the ensemble, we usually wear them like at the bottom of our spine, which is, not great, but I would take that over wearing it on my brain. For sure.
So let's give me your between the two of you, your history in performing, current history. Lauren, give me your biohacks. If you had 150 grand to upgrade the Gershwin where Wicked is, what would you put in there to benefit not only the cast but the crew? Go.
So the three like major problems, I don't know where that number came from. I just thought of three things. Three biggest problems: mold, poor, like dirty light exposure, and then EMF exposure from, all the tech, the microphones, and whatever else is backstage. So I would say, like, first I would hire someone to come in and test for mold, figure out where it was coming from, and whatever was required to, eradicate that, ozone, or you're more of an expert in this field, but whatever it took to get the mold out of there, because the number of allergies that are present in that building. And I think because of that, like so many people come to work every day. They're like, I don't know, I feel fine at home, but the second I come in here, like I'm sniffling, my eyes are watering, I'm coughing. Like, I don't know what it is. I'm like, mold. Also just like the light. We're performing until 11 p.m. at night under very bright light. So we're not following a circadian rhythm because of the LED lights, one, which is not helpful. I know it's more like energy efficient, but it's not full light spectrum. And we're also just getting too much exposure late at night. So we can't really like turn the lights out on a Broadway stage. It wouldn't be a show.
What if the performers could wear blue light blockers on stage?
That would be incredible. I've thought about it. I mean, I don't know. We would need like blue light blocker contact lenses or something. I mean, I guess if they could at least have like full light spectrum light bulbs, that would cost a fortune. I don't know if that fits into the 150 grand budget that we have, but at the very least, like maybe in the dressing rooms, replacing all of the LEDs with better light bulbs. And then the last thing I would say, like the microphones are a really big deal. And when I did Mamma Mia 8 years ago, we used to put Tektite rocks in our mic packs because I was exposed to this by my dad. He taught us that Tektite can sort of like block the EMF radiation. So we all like invested in these rocks and we put them all in our little mic packs. And, you know, the sound department was totally fine with that. I haven't done that at Wicked because honestly, it's like a bigger building. There's more people and I have been like tentative about that. But
I remember shipping you boxes of Tektite.
Yeah, it was like a little Tektite clan over there. But and then, you know, just getting microphones away from people's head. But Tektite's not that expensive. So if we're talking about the budget, that would be an easy one.
So I love that. So I have a short list just to retort here. So what I would say is I would say every, you know, inspired Broadway performer out there in a theater or in a regional theater or on tour, that you can grab an ERMI test from Envirobiomics. And for as little as $240 to $320, you can swipe 10 surfaces in a space. It's going to give you that mycotoxin of those top 14 highly toxic molds that are going to affect your health long term. I would say they have these wonderful candles that actually burn down, and as they burn down, it neutralizes all the mold in a dressing room. I think it'll last for almost a week. It's really good at knocking the mold spore content out of the air. I
wonder if we're going to have a candle in the dressing room. I would easily fight for that. But
I know. What is that? And they're like $5 a piece. So you would literally light one like once or twice a week.
Why have you not shared this yet, Freddie? Send it to me now.
I know. I want to say Dr. Ann Shippey, who came on for mold. Yeah. I want to say Dr. Shippey. You know Dr. Shippey. She has these on her site, or we can Google these and find out what they are. My next one would be for me for theater. Goodness, because everybody in New York is sitting in the midst of 5G, fifth generation internet, which we won't do on this show. However, regrounding with electrons. So I would have a grounding mat. I would have about 2 or 3 at the dressing room spots. I also think there's a way to put a grounding strap in a shoe. So maybe even when people were on the deck, or there would be actually a way for a brilliant engineer to ground the stage as well as those in the audience. And just everybody would have a better show. Everybody would be able to pay attention to follow the storyline better. The other thing that I would say for performers is that one supplement that I will sometimes recommend for people is a liposomal glutathione, which there's a lot of studies, and then it's a tricky one depending on what's going on. Do you have metal fillings? Do you have metal toxicity? It could move too many metals, and where does it take it? However, there are some really good studies about glutathione, high dose, being a spot remover for nodes on the cords. I've actually seen quite a few studies. The other thing that I'm surprised you didn't mention is makeup. Let's talk about the makeup that they use for shows. What would you do if you were in Cats and you were painting your face with that level of toxicity? You would not be in the Broadway show of Cats because of the makeup.
No, that would be a serious challenge. I'm lucky that I'm in a show that does not require heavy loads of makeup. And I'm actually in a dressing room full of women that do have some education surrounding personal care products. So for the most part, people are pretty educated, and like as their budget allows, they swap out for better and better products. Like I am seeing a changeover there. But yeah, you know, typical drugstore makeup is highly, highly toxic. And, you know, you can eat a perfect diet, but if you're putting all this stuff onto your skin, which is a major organ, like good luck fighting the mold. Good luck fighting all the EMF exposure. Good luck with all this other crap. I mean, again, this just comes back to the basics. Like you can set up a really strong foundation just with those nature hacks, quality food, and then like clean products. So yeah, I mean,
do
that's
you bring your own makeup? Everyone has their own makeup? Oh, that's nice. Except
for
like
this
Alphaba,
show,
I guess.
Not every show. Yeah. Alphaba is a different beast. That's a major challenge. I can't say what I would do if I were in that position. I'm lucky that I can bring my own makeup. Yeah.
So for those who don't know Broadway, Elphaba is the witch. She's the Wicked Witch of the West, right?
Mm-hmm.
She turns it eventually down the storyline.
Yeah.
So she's painted green. And I mean, and I've known Elphabas who are like, yeah, I've got green like coming out of every pore every day, all day long.
Yeah, for as long as our contracts run, there's green somewhere on them.
Yeah.
And it's just
Interesting.
paint all over their skin. It's toxic.
Interesting.
I mean, I did cats for 6 months.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about toxic makeup at the time,
Mm-hmm.
but I had white makeup, like always, like I'd find a spot on my neck or in my ear. I'm like, oh God, how long has that been there? You know? I'm glad I didn't know maybe what I know now, but I would say another hack for toxins that I love is modified citrus pectin, MCP.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys use that much. I think anytime you're exposed to potentially, toxic personal care products, toxic cleaning products, I would imagine in the theater, they're probably wiping down the dressing room stations, the floor of the stage with chemicals, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So MCP is a great way to just bind to all that crap.
It's funny you mention modified citrus pectin because there's a brand I absolutely love. It's called OptiPectin, and Wendy Myers will talk about it a lot on her show. It's actually produced in Sonoma County. I don't know why I know that. But modified citrus pectin, and it's got to be fractionated. Fractionated is really what it has, that perfect surface area to bind and pull things out of the body. That would definitely be a one I would add in. Then what would you say about this? You both being in a performing background with this biohacking expertise. What about the idea that you're telling this 2-hour story and everything is choreographed? The steps, how you enter the stage, all the choreography happens on the same side. So you're going to have this. You're going to have like this, if we think about pattern, just like you can be patterned into chronic illness, you're patterned into telling the story. So the imbalances that must develop in a performer's body, I'm pitching you guys a softball right now, are real. So how would you go about addressing this? Someone who's telling the same story with the same movement 8 times a week.
Well, I'm super lucky that I'm a swing and I am not consistently doing the same thing 8 times a week, but I think it really takes some powerful biohacking to really dive deep into what's happening to the body, which muscles I'm using, which muscles am I underusing, and then, doing the opposite or just nourishing in a way that you can come back to balance. Like just being on a rake, for instance, a lot of the times because we're facing downstage towards the audience, we're pitched forward. Just an easy thing is I try to spend a good amount of time before the show, during the show, towards the end of the show, facing upstage on the rake, just doing the opposite, just to try to find balance. But, it's different for everyone and everyone has a different musculoskeletal base. So it kind of depends what your imbalances already are, what you've faced in the show. No two people are going to have the same sort of solution for rebalancing. You have to look into your own body and see what you need. And then, you can hire someone like a personal trainer or corrective exercise specialist, which I do a lot of, to help you through that.
Renee, what would you say? What would your plan for that be?
I mean, gosh, I feel so far removed from the theater world. I did my last show 13 years ago. I feel old all of a sudden. But I wish I knew a lot of this back then. And I think, Lauren, what you do now could have helped me a lot. But I ultimately had to stop dancing because I had so many injuries. And I think the final show I did, it was all about imbalance, right? It was a lot of hyperextension of my right leg, a lot of hyperextension of my spine and not being balanced. And ultimately it just too many injuries that I had to stop. Mm-hmm. But yeah, my recommendation would be to work with someone like Lauren that maybe has the newbie. So you're looking at the neurological fitness, the corrective exercise specialist part. I think that's so important. I always wonder these leads that do, 8 shows a week, also singing, right? That's a little different, but mm-hmm. I don't know how people do it. It still kind of blows my mind.
Well, it's like any professional athlete, although I kind of bump music theater performers up to the top of the list in my mind. It's we do everything, the acting, the emotional baggage that goes along with, if you're living this life of this character who is in like this turmoil and struggle every night and going through heartbreak and possibly dying on stage, that can be very taxing on the nervous system, not to mention the physical and the singing and the choreography. It really is like, it's like the ultimate Olympic sport.
That's traumatic, but can I just add on to that? Like it does extend into other jobs and industries. Like our parents, my dad is a dentist and our mom is a dental hygienist. They both sit in a chair and twist their bodies in the same way every single day and like are hunched over. It's like a very, very imbalanced way to work. And, after 30 plus years of being in dentistry, they're both sort of like seeing the effects of these muscle imbalances and these movement dysfunctions. Like it's really powerful. Their job requires them to be in this state, and unless you like do the opposite or like really nourish the body in these ways to come back to, your neutral state. I don't, it's so funny. I never thought of dentistry as being like a harmful job. You're just,
oh gosh, it's so stressful. And I think dentists have like the number one suicide rate. I mean, I think
for other reasons. Yeah.
But the physical pain. And I think mom and dad have only been doing this for 40 years because of the biohacking. I think dad would be in way too much pain if he wasn't doing all the biohacking he is doing.
Sure.
Oh, and it's to an incredible degree. I have a couple questions I want to go a little deeper on. You had mentioned the newbie. So this is kind of a next level piece of technology, identifying imbalances in the body. I'm super excited about it. I would love to do a newbie episode, but can we talk a little bit about this technology, which I've had a chance to use, and then I can speak about my experience?
Sure. I'm definitely not an expert in this, but I have the machine, and it's basically gosh,
what does it do?
There's so much more to say. So it's a rehab device, but it's also a training device. And it uses DC current through electrodes to provide neurological re-education. So DC current is the type of current that the brain uses to communicate to the rest of the body. So there's a lot of like EMS devices out there, electric muscle stimulation. This is different because it uses the DC current, where most of those other devices use AC current. And we can leave that for the special episode, but DC current is going to provide a more natural patterning where you're telling which muscles to fire. So if you have atrophy, it will wake up a muscle. If you have muscle imbalances, it's going to sort of correct those imbalances. But you can use it for training to actually build muscle and burn fat. Like they're showing that it's like changing muscle composition in the body, which is pretty incredible. I discovered it because of my ankle injury, like from PEMF all the way to newbie. And it's basically taken me to like a 95% recovery rate. And the first time I did it actually was in Vegas. I was staying with Renee, and this amazing woman came to Renee's condo and did the session on me, and I like immediately felt better. But the benefits are pretty endless. All you do is like hook up these electrodes with sticky pads all over the body wherever we need it. And we can do like a discovery session where we kind of find the hot spots in the body, because your body's going to tell you what needs attention, which is really cool because you may have pain like in your left elbow, but maybe like your right trap needs some attention. And this machine is going to really highlight that and help educate us on like what needs the attention. It's cool.
Yeah. And Renee, you've used the technology as well?
Yeah, I've only used it 3 times. Just when I'm home, and I go home for holidays and we just biohack the whole time we're there. So I got to do a lot over the Christmas trip. Yeah, it's awesome. I wish I had access to it every day.
Yeah, it's a really neat technology. Lauren did a session on me and I was just amazed. I was amazed at, and my true belief is like my energy and like focus and brain fog is gone. Like it's exponentially reversed. So it's like, I feel like a superhuman. However, I do still have some patterned pain from being going through so many surgeries, especially my abdomen and like the outsides of my quads. Like I have muscles misfiring. And it's very weird. Basically what my experience was is that, Lauren was swiping my body where there was an electrode on my lower erector spinate. And then she's swiping my body with a pad, and it's shocking me when we're finding a muscle that's like problematic. So I'm like, So
a gentle little shock.
A gentle,
right?
not
too aggressive.
It was not too aggressive. At the time I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So then we put the electrodes on that part of the muscle, and I would do full range of motion, some exercises. We did squats, we did lunges, and we went all over my body. And when I was done, I felt very, very high. That's the best thing. I felt like my feet were rooted like 3 feet into the ground. I felt so connected with my body. It was very unique because I sit a lot for work, right? What I'm doing right now, I'm podcasting, I'm working with Amp Coil, I'm running a webinar. It's pretty much all in a chair. I go to the gym every day, but there's a lot of it I've just got to be down and my face is in the screen. So I know my body feels like pretty crappy. I'm not getting up and moving it enough. And I felt amazing after that session. So I was really blown away by the tech. I thought it was so exciting.
Yeah. The best thing was getting a phone call from you like 5 hours later. And you were like, I'm still high. You were just floating. Your energy was just like out of this world. I was like, that was the best phone call. I was like, yes, he's happy. He feels good. It's like,
yeah. And it's rare that I try things that I feel that good. It's rare that I try things and I'm like, cause I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's rare that I have a shift like that. Again, my true belief is that so many of these issues have gone on for 20 years that a lot of my issues aren't really issues. They're just bad patterns. And I'm like, when I'm breaking patterns, I'm feeling these leaps forward in my vitality, health, and energy. It's not like, I think had I not known or would I not be aware of all these bodies interweaving systems that I could be like, oh, I'm still sick. I still have like bacteria or like Lyme in that joint. Probably not after all the things I've done. Probably more so it's the pattern. And my brain's just used to like, oh, you've had your like, your abdomen cut up and this is how you get out of a chair. You put both hands on, you push up with my arms first. And then I engage my hips. So like a lot of it's, I've allowed my body to get into this state, and it's like I need to do the work to get out. There's no machine I'm going to jump on and like push the fix button. And I think that's a misconception.
Except for the newbie, maybe.
Except for the newbie. Well, but not even the newbie, because the newbie, you need to go in and you need to do the dynamic work. You need to go through the full motion exercises and you're not just sitting back, you're doing the work. And I've got to, I felt great for a couple of days, but I mean, most of those things have gone back. I need to go continue to work with you, right? I need to keep working.
And that's a really good point. When you are on this machine, there's a huge amount of intention that's required. Like you need to turn on your brain to tell your muscles to fire. So like we can go through some basic movement patterns, like a push and a pull, but like you have to actively be pulling, and then you actively have to be pushing, like you're creating this connection with your brain. And that's going to help break the cycle. Like it's awesome that we have this equipment to help us break the cycle, but you can't just put this machine on and like check out. And that's like such a challenge in our life, breaking the cycle. It's such a mental, emotional, spiritual challenge. You have to show up. Like there is no magic pill. There's no supplement that's going to fix everything. All the stuff that we're trying, like none of it's magic. You have to show up and be intentional and like understand the research and what you're doing and what's going to do to you, and really be honest with your emotional state, your physical state, your spiritual state. Being present is huge.
I love it. I want to be respectful of both of your time. I know we scheduled an hour. We're like almost to our hour. Crazy enough.
It goes fast.
It goes fast, but I do want to talk about our other podcast went fast too, and I talked to you both. I want to talk about the OG. I want to talk about your dad a little bit, because we've alluded to the fact that your family supported you in this biohacking endeavor, but your father is the biohacking dentist, Gene Sambataro. You can look up Gene on Instagram. He has an amazing biological dentist practice in Maryland, and he does everything the right way. And then he has this basement of these amazing amazing tools and
Toys.
all toys to play with. Do you guys ever see, do you guys think, coming from this family with this mindset, is it a healthy balance with the technology and the biohacking? Are you able to put it all in perspective, or is it all, can it be a trap to always be like, what's next? What am I buying next? Where am I going?
I would love for my mom to answer that question. I think we should, I mean, we can talk about my dad, but I feel like I need to represent my mom in this. Renee, you're shaking your head. I'll let you.
No, I agree. I think we all do a pretty good job of balancing it, but I think for dad, because he has worked 7 days a week for 40 years, I think the biohacking, like the fancy tools and tech, have been essential for him because, like we talk about, right? Instead of using your human charger and your Juve red light, go out in the sun. He's at the office 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. most days. It's like he doesn't have the time and access to the free nature, I think. Could he change his schedule? That's a great question.
Yeah.
We would love that. But I think the toys have been essential for him to be able to practice for so long versus maybe Lauren and I, we love the fancy toys, but yeah, I'm in Vegas. I have access to the sun. I'm out in the sun way more than I'm using my special fancy lights. But you're right. The balance is important. And I'm always reminding myself, like Lauren has said, back to nature as much as possible.
And like get some fun and joy in your life. This is why I love my mom so much, because she reminds us that like we don't need all this fancy equipment to be healthy. Like we can spend time together. And that's the beautiful thing about our family, is that we really enjoy spending time together. I can't say that for most families across America or in the world. I don't know, but like we have so much fun together. We laugh together, and that produces a healthy response in our body. And my mom feels so strongly about this, and she reminds me of it constantly. Like I think my dad can really easily get sucked up into work and the biohacking, and he's so brilliant in that way, and he inspires us every day. But my mom also brings a really nice balance to that, where it's like, okay, step back. We do need this, but we also need to step away from it and like just be and quiet and like enjoy community. That's a huge thing, community. I don't even remember what your question was. But
That's it. No, fleshing it out, finding that balance within the family, because this is like the family legacy. So, two more questions I want to get in here. So we touched on it in the beginning, but what does it mean to you? And you have to answer this separately, to be women in this male-dominated field and really, claiming your power, claiming your unique voice. What does it mean to you to be part of this biohacking team? Renee, you can go first.
I mean, to be honest, it feels really amazing. Like I'm honored that Lauren and I were able to put our brains together. I feel like we're really at the front of this women biohacking movement. More women are jumping on, but we've been following people like Dave Asprey and Ben Greenfield for a decade, right? And they're incredible. Their research, their knowledge, what they've done is awesome. But I think too many women are falling into that pattern, right? We're trying to fast for 5 days when it's destroying our hormones and killing any possibility of reproduction. And I love that we're getting the word out. We work one-on-one with clients, which is great, helping people one-on-one, but the podcast, we're reaching more people. And I want more women to know you have to tune into your body, right? Our hormones are so sensitive. So much is going on. And Lauren and I have dealt with our own health issues, and not to go down too much of a rabbit hole, but I've had so many health issues that traditional conventional medicine, threw their hands up. They didn't know what was wrong. And it's so frustrating to be in your 20s, having a doctor tell you that you're normal and you're healthy and nothing is wrong, and having to go look elsewhere. And dad was a big part of helping me look elsewhere. But I know I'm totally rambling about this, but women in biohacking, you have to take charge of your own health. You have to be responsible. What's going on in your body? How do you feel today? There's definitely a spectrum. We want to get away from feeling ill and crappy, but we also want to upgrade and feel amazing every day. And I've experienced that whole spectrum. So I just want to empower women that we can feel amazing every single day. during, I would say, like my lowest point of dealing with the chronic fatigue, Epstein-Barr, adrenal dysfunction, I was so tired some days that like I would literally be driving home from work and it would cross my mind, if I just drove off the road right now, I could sleep forever. That literally, like, that's crazy that someone in their 20s would be so tired and so frustrated with no answers that would cross your mind, that's the easy way out. So I just want women to know, even if you're feeling with like crap every day and you're struggling, like there are answers out there, and we want to enable you to be your own biohacker and figure it out. Yeah. Okay. That's enough of my rambling about.
That is not
women
rambling.
in biohacking.
That's not rambling. That's the gold. And what did you, I'm sure there were so many things, but what started to move the needle for you, Renee, out of that place where you felt hopeless?
It was really a combination, and I think a lot of people want to say it was one thing that fixed it. Right. It was one hack, one pill, whatever. I had to address so many things at the same time and really put in the work. Right. I mean, emotional, physical, mental, everything, biohacking, back to nature. What am I eating? How am I sleeping? I had to address everything at once. It's a lot of work, but when you do it and you feel better, it's worth it.
And what's changed from that girl who is having those very dark thoughts driving home from work till the girl that's on this podcast right now?
What has changed?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. I'm happier than I've ever been in my entire life. I will say that every day. I'm grateful. I'm blessed. I want everyone to feel that way every day. I dealt with depression, anxiety, all that with all that was going on. And it's an amazing feeling to wake up and truly be happy every day.
That's
very
profound.
Blessed.
Lauren.
Yeah.
Do you want to reach out and hug your sister first?
Yes. I love her so much.
Oh,
she's
I love
so
you.
Beautiful. Her heart is so big, and I just think she's so smart. She's my little sister, but in so many ways I've looked up to her for so long. And she's really, I think, led this charge into biohacking and wellness. And she makes me be a better person. She pushes me to learn more. She pushes me to like keep finding answers. And Renee, I think it's amazing that you were able to share that here.
Thank you. I love you. I'm always learning from you. Like, I know Lauren's so sweet. She always tells me that she learns from me, but everything that comes out of her mouth, I'm just like, what? I didn't know that. When did you learn that? Tell me more.
Yeah. Here's the love sesh. But this is the thing about women in biohacking. There is a huge opportunity for us to create community. And I think finding your tribe and finding like-minded people that you can really have this conversation with. Like, I'm so lucky that I have my sister and we're on the same journey and wavelength. You have to go out there and find these people. Freddie, you said at the beginning of the podcast, you're like, we're going to nerd out. Like, that's amazing. You need to find friends and community that you can nerd out with, because there's so much that we don't know. There's so much research that hasn't been done, especially amongst women and health in this health industry. And we have to be those pioneers. And I think that just starts with finding or creating a community, having conversations about anything, because we're experiencing so much that is common, but not necessarily normal. And you don't know that it's not normal until you talk about it. So finding people that you can just like lay all of your shit on the table with, just be really honest, be open about your struggles, like lean on someone else for help. We can't do any of this alone. You need other people. We need each other. So find that tribe and then just like lean in so hard.
Yeah. Speaking of community and tribe, Paleo FX, our favorite event of the year, just got postponed because of what's going on. And I don't know if I'm more sad that our family vacation got postponed or that this just fun health conference got postponed. I mean, both. But again, it's about the tribe. I could go, and no offense, the speakers are awesome, but you can also hear them speak on podcasts and YouTube every day. I I could skip the speakers and just hang out with the amazing group of people there because they're all like-minded. And I mean, it's like a natural caffeine boost when you're around those people, right?
It's a drug. Yeah. You feel high after spending an afternoon with those people, as opposed to people that, don't light up your world, that aren't inspiring. I don't know. There's really something to be said for choosing people that inspire you and just like bringing more of that into your life. It's really powerful. But yeah, it's a bummer. It's such a bummer. The paleo is rescheduled, but
rescheduled. Yeah, not officially canceled, but unfortunately, virus 2020 is sweeping through the world right now.
And again, is.
That's another podcast. We didn't touch on Corona, which is so funny. I walked into Whole Foods the other day and they had like all the Corona was out front on sale for like $6.99 because nobody's like Corona's taken a 40% dive, which is it's in their market share. But what's interesting is in their revenue over the last month. And to me, it's very interesting. It's fascinating how easily we're influenced and programmed. You've got to think about it. There's one little example. Has nothing. It's a beer or a virus. Opposite ends of the spectrum. However, people are like, that's a fear word. I don't want Corona. So it comes out of the field. There's like this field of fear we talk a lot about at, when we're trying to support people through frequency and amp coil and PEMF and, all these, these wonderful journeys we have to rebalance the bioterrain. The first thing we tell people to run is Emotions 23. It's a journey that balances the polarity of love and fear, because the trend towards fear is dropping the immune system into a reactive place. This is studied. This is hard science. Fear makes you more susceptible to being infected by a microbe, an organism, a virus. So balance that out first.
Yeah, it compromises the system. I ran that journey yesterday at your suggestion.
I love that one. I love that one.
Yeah, the fear is really real. There's so much that we don't know about this virus. We don't have to go too much into it, but supporting your immune system, not caving to fear, but also knowing that like bacteria is everywhere. We can't really avoid it. And like the scary thing about this virus is that we've never been exposed to it. Like we've been exposed to the flu many, many times. So not as scary. We know what the flu is. I don't know if this is founded, but like I had this idea today. I was like, I kind of want to be exposed to Corona because then like my body's going to know it. I mean, that's really extreme. I don't really want to, but like I'm probably going to breathe in like a speck of it somewhere and it's probably going to challenge my immune system in a positive way. Again, that's extreme, but like
it's like a self-vaccination.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had that thought. Yeah, I've had that thought. I was like, I have the tools, I have the biohacking gear to like get through Corona.
Yeah.
And maybe that's irresponsible. Yeah, we're young. We're young. I mean, I have like definitely like a challenged immune system. That's for real. That's a thing. But I also feel like I have the tools and awareness and like I'm pretty sure I could move through it. I don't know if that's irresponsible or not, but I've totally had that thought. I'm like, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to put my bare hands on the subway pole. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, that's questionable.
Do you know that? Do you remember what's the movie? Is it Showgirls with Saved by the Bell? Who's a woman's? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Jessie.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yes. Jessie from Saved by the Bell. Awesome movie. If you haven't seen Showgirls, watch it or don't. That's kind of a funny recommendation. But there's like this meme of her like, licking a stripper pole and the meme is like Corona 2020, this never would have been shot in the original film, and they just have like all these memes of people like licking flagpoles. I was like, I love it.
Yeah, I love the Corona memes going around, like the Americans dressed up like mummies from all the toilet paper they've bought. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like, what is the toilet paper doing?
I don't know.
I love the John Oliver episode. He was like, some people are pouring bleach down their throats. Some people are licking subway poles. We probably want to be somewhere in between the two. We don't know exactly. But
that's great.
I mean, we can't live in fear. I mean, I think we need to be educated and protect ourselves, which means protecting and supporting our immune systems. But I don't want to just retract from society and life, because if I sit inside all day long on my couch, away from nature and away from things that spark joy, that's also going to harm my immune system. So Finding a balance. Am I going to tell my grandmothers to ride the subway? No.
Yeah.
But being young and healthy, I'm going to keep making good choices to support that. And the positivity, I think, is huge. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's definitely a factor. I need to ask you both your last question of the show. I'm going to start with Renee. Renee, the Beautifully Broken podcast, what does it mean to you to be beautifully broken?
Is there a picture of me next to that? Yeah, I mean, Beautifully Broken. I just love the name of your podcast. I think to me, it's just revealing that we're all a little broken, right? We've all been through stuff. It's helped us learn. It's helped us grow. For me, it's made me a better practitioner to, like I said, be beautifully broken. I had, OCD, anxiety. I was anorexic for 10 years. And then I had all this adrenal stuff and chronic fatigue, and I hope, and this isn't like feel bad for me, I've been through it. It's like, no, I've been through it. I know what it feels like. And you can get better too, right? Yeah, that's kind of my take on it. We're all beautifully broken, and we can heal and accept it and still be happy and healthy at the end of it.
I love it. Lauren?
I just think it's opportunity, and that can mean whatever you want it to mean, but it's opportunity, mostly for growth. And I think we're all stronger than we think we are. And sometimes we need these opportunities to let that uncover itself.
I love it. And where can people find, listen to, and connect with the Biohacking Babes?
We have an Instagram page, and then we each have our own Instagram handles, but we have, you can just Google the Biohacker Babes. It will take you to our website and to our podcast page. We release our podcast every Monday morning. And then we each have our individual websites. So laurensambataro.com, reneebells.com.
And Facebook, Biohacker Babes.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. So I will put all those in the show notes. And is there any last piece of gold nugget wisdom you'd like to impart to the audience, either of you? Again, Renee, you can go first.
Don't be afraid to self-experiment and biohack. Don't wait for someone else to tell you what to do.
Ooh, I love that. I love that name.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we have like a motto. It goes along with our logo, but it basically means to educate yourself, to be your own biohacker, like empower yourself to do the work. And like Renee said, don't wait for someone else to tell you to do it. Like, you have all of the tools.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to manifest. I'm dropping out I don't know why I'm holding lemons here. Like,
where did those come from? You're like a little
I got
magician.
like a compression wrap. I got the lemons. I was like going to juggle. Anyways, I know. Woo. I'm going to manifest that we're all going to be Biohacker Babes and Beautifully Broken podcast. We're going to be speaking at a health summit very soon, somewhere together.
We sure are.
Yep.
I love that.
We're going to claim the stage. So I think that's it for now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Renee, Lauren, you guys were so fun to talk to. This was so easy. We'll definitely do another episode on a very targeted topic. I know we did like the full sushi platter, smorgasbord sushi bow of like all things biohackers, but that's where we're getting in. So we'll do it again. And thank you from my sincere heart for being here.
Thank you, Freddie. You're awesome.
Thank you. This was great.
Ladies and gentlemen, you made it to the end of the podcast. Now, in a world where the average attention span is less than 10 seconds, we just spent almost an hour together. And I think this is the beginning of something really beautiful. Now, one way to support the podcast is to head over to freddiesetgo.com and check out my newly launched page, Freddie's Faves, where I've linked every 5-star product and healing modality you hear about on the show. Most offer significant discounts by clicking the link. And please know, it doesn't cost you anything extra, and at the same time, they support the show through affiliation. So check out Freddie's Faves on freddiesetgo.com. This episode of the Beautifully Broken podcast was brought to you by our sponsor, AmpCoil, upgrading the vibrations of hearts, minds, and bodies all over the world. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's show, head over to iTunes and leave a 5-star review. Grabbing a download is like giving this virtual thumbs up that we're doing it right. And if you want to connect with me, shoot me a message on Instagram at freddysetgo.com or at freddysetgo. That's all for today. Our closing. The world is hurting. We need you at your very best. So take the steps today to always be upgrading, whatever it takes to move the needle. Remember, while life is pain, putting those fractured pieces back together is a beautiful process. I'm your host. I love you. Namaste. Have a wonderful day.